Well, we knew it was just a matter of time, really. I mean, it's hard to see a character that we've watched grow and learn to appreciate and respect, even though the character in the beginning was a little annoying and whining. I have a lot of respect for the actor, to be honest. It's just a shame to see him gone. I'm going to miss you, Gavin. Hit the button. Let's get started. Hey there, hi there, ho there, Andrew here, the horror host of Generations X, Y, and Z inside Davis Manor with a review of The Walking Dead's Season 8 mid-season premiere. I'm not going to recap the whole thing here. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you what I felt about it, the opportunities, the missed opportunities, because there were some missed opportunities here. This episode could have done a little bit better to bring the back end up some, but let me get into that in a moment. Before we begin, though, a big old shout-out goes to the patrons of the channel, which seem to be growing every week because they are growing every week. And thanks goes to all of them for helping me create some very cool things like this free video you are watching right now. You, too, can be part of the show by clicking the link above or the links in the description box, also at the end of the video. Doing that can earn you some swag, but more importantly, you can have a say in the direction of the channel and future projects. Talk about a cool thing. And by the way, I'm sorry for making myself a little scruffy here. I wanted to get this video out as quick as possible because it's time sensitive. We're talking about the mid-season premiere, and I'm sure there's been tons of people who have already talked about this, but none of them have the class that I do. I don't even have the class that I think I have. Anyways, getting back to the episode here. This episode is called Honor, and spoilers, by the way, if you, I don't know, didn't think that I was going to spoil anything. I spoil everything. Just ask my wife. Anyways, I might get some heat on this. I usually get heat on this. I get heat on all the Walking Dead videos that I put up. There's a strong fan base. If you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say I get heat, pause for self-promotion. Check out the link above. That video is called Why The Walking Dead Now Sucks. And it's basically me talking about where The Walking Dead is and the direction that it's going from the mid-season finale of Season 8. So, I didn't find this episode heart-wrenching at all. Not heart-wrenching, but apparently gut-wrenching. Thank you very much, Morgan. This was not an emotional episode. No. It was promised to be an emotional episode. And we heard from many of the creators, the producers, writers, all that other stuff, that this show was going to be a tough episode to watch. And it was, but for a different reason for me. You know, let me use an analogy on this, okay? And that was, we all knew that Carl was dying. He could have had a chance to say goodbye to some and not to others, which he did. He did say goodbye to a few people. And there were some people he didn't have any closure with, or they didn't have any closure with him, like Carol, who has been around since the beginning. She didn't get a chance to see him or say goodbye or anything. And I really would like to see them bring that up in a future video episode. If not, I will bring it up in a future video. She was basically Carl's surrogate after Lori died. I mean, until Michonne showed up. But again, let me get back to the analogy of this all. This was a Band-Aid moment for the show, but we didn't just rip it off. No, Kelly Clarkson! Well, yeah, that was wax, but not a Band-Aid, but you get the gist of what I'm saying here. I mean, for an hour and a half, we just slowly pulled this Band-Aid off, and it stuck to our skin, and it was ripping some hair out. You see, we knew that Carl was dying, like I said, mid-season finale. It aired in December 10th, 2017. We come back February 25th, 2018, to see the ending of this. So the audience grieved for 2 months I don't think the creators realized that. I mean, seeing Carl was not intense because it was expected. We all knew it was going to happen. And yes, there were some fans that grabbed their tissues and held on to each other crying that we lost Carl. And I'm not making fun of them on that. I mean, some people are really big fans of Chandler Riggs, and I'm one of them too. I like him. I like him as an actor as he's grown, because Carl was annoying in the first couple of seasons. But I can't wait to see what the future brings this actor at all. I mean, I personally would have loved to have seen him as a young Han Solo, but we're not going to see that at all because Disney enjoys peeing into the gas tank of that franchise. But I'm digressing here. Let me get back going on. See, because it just sounds like I'm complaining of that Chandler died for an hour and a half, or Carl died for an hour and a half. Jason Warner Smith, who played the Savior Gavin. A highlight in this episode, in my opinion. Gavin, to me, was the middle management of the apocalypse. I mean, you think about it, he had a job to do. He did the job well. He didn't want to make any waves on either side. He was content doing what he was doing. He just wanted some normalcy in an abnormal world. I mean, I can respect that. I mean, anybody that's going through the apocalypse would like to have something to hold on to that, you know, is predictable and does not stray away from the norm. And when it came to the discipline for, you know, those who oppose Negan, he didn't really want to dish it out. I mean, that is a strange trait to have in a bad guy. And it worked, I think. I mean, we could feel sympathy for the guy. We had empathy for a bad guy. And then Henry goes and sticks him in the neck. I knew that character was eventually going to meet his end. I mean, I just was wondering who was going to be the one that was going to take him out. I actually thought that King Ezekiel was going to be the one. But Henry? And that is the kid's name, right? Henry? I think so, yeah. So, Gavin's death at the hands, or should I say stick, of Henry, I think is going to be a defining moment for Morgan. This is where we get to see him flip, because he went from Zen to crazy killer, and I think he's going to go back and kind of balance himself out before he goes to Fear the Walking Dead, or I like to call F the Walking Dead. And I think Morgan avenging the death of Benjamin, which is Henry's older brother, he was going around stalking and killing the saviors. Like, he was basically making Carol and Ezekiel go, damn! Yeah, and he even had a one-note, like, dun, dun, like, repeated music soundtrack, like he had his own killer theme song, and as he's dragging his stick in the sand. Yeah, tell me that guy was not being directed like some kind of serial-killing slasher villain. He was. Where am I going with all this? Oh yeah, Morgan avenging the death of Benjamin, and lo and behold, his younger brother, Henry, goes sticking his stick where it don't belong, avenging his older brother, denying Morgan that kill, and shocking him back into reality. I think that makes Morgan realize that he painted a beautiful portrait of a serial killer named Henry. It's Earl. So, the disemboweling scene, let me get back to that. It was there for sheer special effects, and it was for the gore fans of The Walking Dead, and it was a good scene. I mean, it was done well. I typically am used to, I think, like most people, when you see there's a skirmish going around and somebody's got a wound, whether it's a bullet wound or a knife wound or something, you see somebody stick their thumb in it and the guy screams and then the other person gets the advantage in the skirmish. But, I mean, he goes and rips the guy's guts out. What? I mean, it was a good scene, though. I mean, I did appreciate it. But let me get on to, again, some of the things that just weren't needed. Besides the long goodbye, like I said, for Carl. That drug on, but what made it even worse, I think, was the commercial breaks. I I watched it. I had to go back on DVR and kind of time it out because I DVR the show. Every 10 minutes, there's a break. Seriously, like every 10, like I watched it, stopped it, 10 minutes, watched it, stopped, 10 minutes. It might look great when you're producing the show and you got the dailies and you're putting it all together and you're editing everything together and you're like, oh, this is great. It's just flowing just beautifully. But think about it. You got to think like it's on TV. And you break the story every 10 minutes and you suck everybody right out. Every 10 minutes we got a break. 2 minutes. Telling us how great Taco Bell was. I didn't know if the people of Alexandria were escaping or if they were running for the border. So, yeah, we were constantly being drug out of a dramatic scene for just good old-fashioned commercialism, and that was annoying. Now, there are some good things. The writing I thought was great in here. When I say the writing, I mean not the show direction, because there were still dark scenes and everything. I mean, granted, you're in a sewer, and you got close-ups, it's going to be dark, and you got the old burned-out church, which everybody was like, oh, it was a beautiful scene. It was so beautiful. You know what? The set might have been beautiful, but it was gray on screen. So, let me get back to the writing. I love the fact that Carl explains that he saved Sadiq. I think that's his name, Sadiq. Not because he was a doctor. Because he didn't know he was a doctor at the time. He saved him because he knew that he wasn't going to survive out by himself. And that kind of gave a little insight. And you see Andrew Lincoln have that moment of clarity as Carl's telling him. And I liked that. I thought that was good writing there. I also like the fact that Carl explains it wasn't the saviors that did this to him. He just got bit, which, again, was nice. That means Rick can't have some kind of vengeful vendetta on the death of his son. It was just a walker that bit him. So I like that as well. And I enjoy the fact that Carl is, whether they want to or not, and I know that they want to because this is how they wrote it, Carl is going to be a catalyst in changing Rick's mental viewpoint. And I think that's good. Although Rick's personality has been flip-flopping back all over the place, Rick will slowly become the leader of the new world, basically, with the death of his son. And his primary goal has always been Carl. Always has been Carl. I don't think that's going to change at all with the death of Carl. I think just how Carl died and everything, it's now going to be a legacy for Carl. And I like the writing and I like the vision in that. Speaking of vision, I'm not quite sure why Carl didn't have a vision of Lori when he passed. I mean, yeah, we got a chance to see him thinking like everybody's growing tomatoes and stuff like that. But why wouldn't he have a vision of his mom before he died?
Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
Yes, thank you, Norman. Was it because we're pushing the whole Rochon relationship still? You know, if we brought Lori back, that would kind of affect where Michonne is. And like she's in the forefront as the love interest for Rick right now, so maybe that's why we didn't do it. Maybe the actress didn't want to come back. Maybe she's busy doing other stuff. I don't know. But I mean, with all the flashbacks, that's another thing about this episode. I got choked up. The only time I got choked up about that episode. With all the flashbacks that this show loves to do. I mean, wouldn't it have been neat? Just, I don't know, to see Carl flashing back at how he raised his gun to Lori and took her out and alter it with the shots of him raising the gun to take himself out. And I know what people will respond with, and I know what the Walking Dead crew would say, and that is they're not going to show Carl raise a gun to his head and kill himself. I mean, that would be glorifying suicide, and we don't want to do that, and I get that. So yeah, that shot is what ended up with. And actually, I think it was tastefully done. And speaking of shots, Greg Nicotero, he did a good job overall in the direction of the episode. But again, the darkness, the flashbacks, the flash forwards, that's another thing that's been overused here. I think there needs to be a quota, okay? you get a certain amount of flashbacks and flash forwards that you can use for the entire season. Once you do it, once you've hit that quota, done. No more. It's being overused. I think it's promoting lazy writing. It's promoting lazy direction. Or people are like, oh, look how fancy of a director I am. We're doing this and we're moving, oh, this is a vision and this is a flashback and this is what's going to happen and blah, blah, blah. It's like, I don't know if you guys ever seen NCIS. They're like, they show you like a 5-second clip. And you're like, well, what's that? And then you got to watch like a half an hour, 45 minutes of the show. And then it gets to that clip and you're like, oh. Okay, that can be insightful. Insight is okay with a flashback or a flash forward. If it's done once in a while, it's done too much. Just tell the story. Holy moly. Some of the stuff with the editing, it was like, I don't know who the editor was. And I don't know what they had to work with. But it was like they were on crack. I mean, the whole Mumford & Sons song, I mean, it wasn't Mumford & Sons. There were wannabes. But it was like a Mumford & Sons song. I mean, in the beginning, that's going on, and Carl's doing his chores. Hey, I've been bitten, I'm dying, but here, let me plant this tree. What? And then also, you got shots of Rick, all bloodshot eyes, looking around like, I don't know what he's doing. And then, of course, you got the old man Rick shots with the Santa beard, who I will now refer to as jolly old Saint Rick. All ping-and-ponging back and forth in the episode. And then it ends with bloodshot eyes. Rick, once again, sitting under a tree. BLEEDING. Oh, I'm so clever that way. It just didn't make any sense. It didn't add to the conversation. I mean, you can't, as a fan, go, oh, you remember the scene? Because somebody's going to go, yeah, what the heck did that mean? And then the other person's going to go, I have no idea. And then the conversation's done. You can't build off of that. There's nothing, there's no way to make the fan base engage with shots like that. They just question it. Why would you have your fan base question that? So do you agree with me or disagree with me? Go ahead, leave a comment down below, and remember, like, share, subscribe, plus hit that bell icon so you get notified the moment I upload, and I will see you in the next video.